Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Double Bits Workshop. Alright, so I'm pretty excited. In today's episode, we'll be doing a unboxing. So you may have noticed in the prior videos with the CNC, there's this space that was kind of junky and had all sorts of different random garage stuff, and now it just kind of miraculously got empty. I've expanded over this kind of faux wall paneling in the back here. I actually rather enjoy it. It dressed up that drywall nicely. I've set up the pegboard system and made that area look really nice, and now this kind of blank space is looking like it's ready for something. So we'll be unboxing a new 3D printer. Now, I have been playing around with my resin 3D printer, and I really enjoy it quite a lot. But the downfall of a resin 3D printer is that you have a very small build plate. What you create can also be very brittle as well. Even the more stronger filament equivalent, or just resins, still kind of end up being a little bit more on the breakable side. So you can utilize them and you can use them, but also since everything that is resin is UV cured, it makes it a little bit more hard to use in a construction setup or in the wood shop because I have to worry about its sun exposure. Even if I coat it, I'm still running the risk that it could overhard and become more brittle over time in use. I will say though that there are a few different items that I have actually printed in resin that I enjoy quite a lot. But the door has been opened, and now with the filament printer, and not only just any filament printer, a big 3D printer. So this is the Longer LK5. Now there are a few different little things with this printer that a few people have some mild gripes about, but everything that I have looked at, the build plate and everything else is gigantic on this. So I'm going to do an unboxing, kind of show you a little bit of what's on the inside, and I think I'm going to do a time lapse of the assembly of it because there is already an assembly on the actual SD drive or SD card that comes with it, as well as a great deal of fully expanded how-tos through Longer, the company, as well as a variety of other YouTubers that have already covered that basis. So I'll kind of just do a gist for you on that part. So let's get to unboxing. So one of my concerns is there are definite signs that this did not arrive kindly. It was handled quite roughly, as with the drag strip and how much this has been skid across the floor. So I'm very hopeful everything is good in it, but Amazon fulfillment, you let me down. This looks a bit rough. But I'm hopeful, in looking at videos, that this is well packaged to where these are going to be non-damaging to the printer. Alrighty, so opening the box. Looks like that main dent right here and here is right on foam. Got one right here. Alrighty, so we are greeted with the gantry, stabilizing arms, the main screw, little instruction manual. It says quick start guide. We have some starter filament, which is blue, which is nice. I've seen a couple of different videos where it was black and orange. I actually prefer the blue. Alright, we have silk gel. I'll save that for some filament. Something you can do until you get bags, or just one idea is to save some silk gel packets like this and put them in with your filament and just have it in a large 1 gallon Ziploc bag. Zip it up, make sure all the air is out of it best you can, and just having this in there will help keep your filament from getting a lot of moisture in it and making your prints fail. Alright, we have a pretty nice rigid scraper knife. pretty good and sharp, which is nice. It's a 38 millimeter. Has a little Ziploc bag to keep it from cutting anything. Alright. And this, looking at it, is the, I'm not quite sure exactly. We have some different 3D components. It says spare parts on here. Looks like maybe a filament switch or sensor of some kind, and some additional 3D printed parts. Alright. Let's see. They have the glass bed. It's nicely wrapped. The Longer logo on it. We have the aluminum print bed, which looks like that is attached underneath. So we'll pull out the gantry very gently. Tension rods. Main screw. Alright, so there's the aluminum table and main bottom. Got the arm underneath. Alright, so your tab. Alright. Said it was 90% assembled, so we have our power cord. We've got screws, binder clips, Allen keys, and zip ties. Little multi-use wrench, probably a 10 millimeter and a 12. That seems to be just about everything. Looks like it's got a compartment. It's nippy looking. This is for your filament. It's the spool head, or the little spool arm. Here is the colored LED touchpad. If you were to purchase these by themselves, they're about $85. So it's nice this one just comes with it. Alright, we have the primary stepper motor that drives the, I believe this is the Z axis. Bracket for it. This, I believe, goes on the top of the screw. Looking at the foam, everything looks to be taken out. Not seeing any compartments or additional compartments. Alright, so everything is fully assembled. As you saw in the time lapse, I ran through a quick print on just what came on the SD card, which is this little benchy model. So it's just a little tugboat. I had one oddity with it, was the bottom. So the extruder, as from the factory, from what I've been kind of reading, just out of curiosity what was going on, this is a blue filament, and from the factory they'll run sometimes a black filament through. So when I was pushing this filament in and loading the extruder, as basically just kind of like a hot glue gun on the end, it started globbing out. Well, with the shadow and stuff, I didn't realize it was black. I thought it was just this filament. Well, the filament that was in there didn't quite bond as well as I would have hoped. I don't know exactly what type of filament that is that they have, just to see that the extruder is working, what have you. So it took a while to do the first few layers, and it didn't quite adhere too well, or it adhered too well, I guess, and was really hard to remove. But everything else that the blue was fine, and just like a normal PLA filament, from what I can tell. And it printed pretty well. It kind of globbed on the end. I didn't realize till this point it actually got a little string of that same black filament stuck on right there. Otherwise, the rest of the print is pretty decent for a first print. It could definitely be a little better with some settings and some tuning, essentially. But I'm just happy that it's a full model and that it actually resembles something. For the first print, without any tuning or anything, just 100% basic settings as is, I felt it did pretty good. So I'm excited. It also fits in the area that I had designated. I was concerned I was going to have to move this shelf up quite a bit to get this to fit. There's the filament spool will sit on the side here. This is just what's left of what the test amount that they gave you, which is pretty much enough to do any one of the free items on there. There's like a whistle, the boat, a cube, and I think like one other one on there. Besides, they had a second rendition of this fan shroud you can also print. And luckily it comes with the secondary fan shroud, but it gives you an extra print capability to remake it, I guess if you want to change the color or what have you. But I'm really excited. My reason for getting this, even though I work and enjoy for my kind of like side project or side hustle as a woodworker, this I got, not only is it going to be fun making and creating helmets and all sorts of other fun things that we have kind of lined up for it, but this is my factory to make any and all brackets that I want for the wood shop and for the garage or any of these setups and these bays that I have set up. I can make all the bracketing for it, anything from 17-ish inches of the height and roughly around almost, I think it's like 11.5 inches wide by I think 11 inside, like 11.5 or something inches deep. So I think it's like, what is it, 300 by 300 by 400. So it's a decent volume to be working with for millimeters, that is, as the other side of the conversion for you. But it is awesome, because if you think about a lot of the plastic brackets and other things that you would purchase at a hardware store or even Amazon, you're spending $20+ for a little bracket kit. And looking through some different websites such as Yagi, Thingiverse, Thangs, a couple of these different odd named sites have a variety of free, what's known as STL files that you can load in here. And through basic free software, the one I'm looking at is Kira. There's a version of Kira that comes with this. It's just for Windows 10, and it has just this profile on it. You can create for multiple profiles, multiple different 3D printers for their basic free version as well. But the one geared and design that comes with this, that's for this, it's just a very simplified version of it. Works great from everything that I'm reading, and I kind of glanced at it a little bit. Looks like decent software. I might still just download the full version essentially. And I can create so much with it, and a full spool, which is 1 kilogram or 2.2 pounds, can print a whole load of things. And it costs roughly around $20 for a spool. And I can get different heat strengths, I can get different strength tests, and I can get different ones for different reasons and purposes. That all last really good, can be outside. I don't have to worry about UV as much. Basic PLA, I think you still have a variable of worrying about a certain amount of UV damage, but not near as bad as with resin. So already I'm seeing a lot of benefits to it. Now I do see a lot more of like the layer heights in this model. I'm going to play around with the settings and see how much I can get those to disappear. But even still, this is a very much usable print for whatever I make out of it. And it's very strong. Like this, just out of this little boat, squeezing it, pinching it, and how hard I had to yank to get it off the bed because of that black resin that was in there, or not resin, but filament. I definitely have a lot more understanding to why they say PLA is a little bit stronger than resin for sure. And I'm excited to play around with it more. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this kind of just unboxing and kind of unveiling of something that, in addition to the shop, I'm going to set up this little bay here to be all for this 3D printer. Just kind of how I did my workbench, all for the resin printer. And then this bay is all for the CNC. So that way I can kind of set up more of a manufacturing in here. And what I'd like to do is utilize this machine to inspire me a bit through the things that I can get, bracketing and whatnot, to retrofit and rechange up the entire workshop, as well as I want to set up this area and retrofit this for my needs for production and just ease of use. Because a tool that is more easy to use and more readily available has a higher percentage of chance of you actually grabbing it and doing what you do and you love with it. So if I'm going to have to jump over, clean up, move around 16 different things to get to the one tool to start in on the project that I was originally inspired and wanting to get into, I'm going to be so fed up by the time I get to it that it's going to take me a long time to get back in the mood and mindset to actually feel creative and to feel like even doing it, instead of just getting pissed off and just getting halfway towards it and just giving up, which I feel is one of the main reasons that us as creators don't create as much as we should or we could. It's just the lack of ability to get to it, whether it's any of our other prior things that we've designated our time to, or any of the things we have to clean up to get to that point where we can even relax and do what we do for fun, what have you. I just want to make my life a bit more streamlined. Me and the missus are getting in that kind of mindset more and more, just streamlining our lives to where if we want to do something at the drop of a hat, we can. If we want to move, clean, and reorganize and just reset up a room, we're not having so many roadblocks of, well, we have to clean the whole space and we have to clean the other space to move all this stuff over, and then we can see if it looks good, and then we can see if we want to do that. It's a lot of and maybe and then and oh, once that's done. No, we're trying to get things a little bit more streamlined, and this is something I feel like is inspiring and enjoyable that we're both going to have fun playing with, and we're both going to have fun kind of pushing the limits of it and creating things that's like, no, I spent 10 hours printing that, I want to see that on the wall, or I want to see that. So it's kind of and also a little bit more of like a treat at the end of all the stress and potential agony to get to what we're trying to get to. So all that to say, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you like what you're seeing and you want to see the next unfolding chapter of this, please leave a comment down below. Hit the subscribe button so that way you don't miss out when I do start coming up with more content about this. If you have any questions, feel free to also leave that down below. I'd like to hear from anyone and what they're thinking of this. And I'm going to keep trying to push my ideas into this and see what I can come up with it based on the mentality coming from a wood shop, and more of that mentality of kind of bridging the two gaps, seeing what I can kind of use this for jigs and everything else, and just rapid prototyping in the wood shop, and just any of those ideas that I have moving around. So necessarily if I can't have the material at my hands, or I have just enough material, I might be able to print something out if it's going to take weeks for the material to get in, or something else like that down the line. This is something that can kind of save me time and the potential that I can't always get this one-of-a-kind piece again for whatever type of wood or material I'm working with. I can test it out in the real world to some extent with something I print off and see if it'll even work. So that's another idea, something there for you. But thank you all so very much. Make sure to hit that notification bell as well, so that way you get notifications each and every time a video comes out on the channel. Thank you all so very much, and have yourself a wonderful evening.